Welcome back to the channel, guys. So in this video today, I'm going to be running you over a client case study from one of my clients who I'm working with one-to-one. Kevin is a vice president at a company in the UAE. He's 36 years old, he has 2 kids, he's married, and he managed to drop just over 8 kg in 8 weeks. Now, I will say before we get into things today, we're going to be running over training, nutrition, and communication that allowed us to achieve this amazing result. But I will say this standard and level of result and this amount of weight loss is not normal. That does not mean that you can't see significant progress in 8 weeks, but we really gave it everything over this 8-week period. I've actually worked with Kevin for over 2.5 years. We've gone through a couple of different fat loss phases, maintenance phases, and then lean gain phases. His goal when he came to me was just to improve his overall body composition and health, was to build lean muscle and drop body fat. I think it's important to explain the kind of phase that we went into. We'd run a lean gaining phase where he'd added a little bit of muscle mass and a little bit of body fat and body weight. This is all part of the process if you want to build a really good physique over a long period of time. But this phase specifically that I'll be running over today, we did an aggressive fat loss phase where we dropped 8 kg in 8 weeks. Kevin reached the lowest body weight that he has ever reached, I think, over the last 10 years. The last time that he was at this weight, he was a semi-professional footballer in the UK. So I'm going to be running over it all today. I'm going to start off with training. Nutrition is absolutely important. It's really, really important to have a solid foundation in place with nutrition, but without a proper training program and training structure, there is no point following the perfect nutrition plan. So the first thing that we discussed when we entered this phase was we had the conversation, how many days can you commit to training each week? Now, it goes without saying, the clients that I work with, sometimes they occasionally miss training sessions because of things that come up with work, travel, family life and social life and things like that. But I'm always pushing them to make sure that they try and get most of their training sessions done. So with Kevin, we agreed that he would run a 4-day strength training split. A lot of the clients that we work with do very, very well off 3 training days per week. But with Kevin, he actually just wanted to go to the gym 4 times a week because he really enjoys it. Because the gym that he trains at is located in his office, it's pretty convenient for him. But we only ran 40-minute strength training sessions. So it's not as though he was in the gym for 80 to 90 minutes 4 times a week. The overall amount of training that he was doing throughout the week, even though he visited the gym 4 times a week, was relatively small. So 4 strength training sessions per week, no longer than 40 minutes. The strength training split that we ran with him was upper body, lower body, push and posterior. And the main focus when he was in the gym was progressive overload. So adding more weight, increasing reps to make sure that whilst he was in this fat loss phase, he could still maintain all the muscle mass that he'd worked so hard to build over the last couple of years since we worked together. So 2 main things with the training. I had to understand the amount of time that he could actually commit to training. I find that a lot of people, when we bring new clients on board, they'll say, yeah, I want to train 6 or 7 days a week, but it's actually just not realistic for most people. So 4 was a really nice middle ground there. Big focus on getting better in the gym each week. I see so many people going to the gym, going through the motions, doing the same movements, the same reps, the same amount of weight for months and months and years, and that's why they never see any physical changes. Now, it's important to understand when you are in an aggressive fat loss phase like this and you lose a similar amount of weight to that, your ability to build muscle mass is going to be minimal, but the strength training is still there to support the physique and maintain all the muscle that you've worked hard to build. So that is training, that is the foundation of everything, and I'll be moving on to nutrition just now. So we've got nutrition next. Now, I will say if you want to drop a relatively high amount of weight in a short amount of time, you are not going to get there without dialing in your nutrition and tracking the majority of your nutrition. It's a different journey versus someone who is just looking to lose weight and be healthier. You can literally eat healthier foods, focus on protein intake, move a little bit more, do some training, and you'll drop a lot of weight. But this was not the situation that Kevin was in. And similar to the other guys that I work with, they come to me in decent shape already, like okay shape, and they really want to get to the next level, and you really have to dial everything in order to do that. I think there's a lot of kind of pushback against, tracking calories is bad and things like that. But the way that I explain it to my clients, and a lot of the men that I work with are super data driven, so they're quite happy to track to get the result quicker. The quickest way to get the result that you want is to track your nutrition. That doesn't mean you have to be following a very restrictive, strict meal plan, but it gives you proper awareness of what you're putting in your body. And at the end of the day, once you actually understand what you put in your body, your energy levels are going to be higher, you're going to start seeing really, really good results, and then you're going to be motivated to do it. I often find that people that don't like tracking calories and don't like eating similar things each day is because they're probably consuming the wrong amount of food for them, the wrong foods. They've never got the results, they've never got the buy-in. I know that by tracking my nutrition 90% of the time and eating a clean diet, it helps me stay in shape, so I want to keep doing it. I've got that buy-in and that proof of concept. So with Kevin, we did actually follow a meal plan. Now, I would say 95% of the people that we work with don't follow meal plans, but we actually just chose to take that route simply because Kevin has the luxury of having a maid that lives with him and works for him. So she actually prepared all his food. But just because we were following a meal plan approach, we did still track calories and macros. I gave him calories and macros, and then him and his maid made the meal plan. So that's the approach that we followed. So we tracked pretty much 7 days a week. Again, that is not essential year round to get a good result, but because he wanted to drop a lot of weight very quickly and get into great shape very quickly, we chose to take this route, and we got the result from doing that. Kevin had one meal out per week, which allowed him a little bit of flexibility with the family and the wife. Again, you can definitely eat out more per week and still get good results. But when you're trying to lose a lot of weight quickly, having a closer awareness of what you're consuming is going to get you the result faster. And what I mean by that is we can go to these restaurants, we can go to these chain restaurants, they provide calories and macros on the menu, but we can never be fully sure whether it is accurate. So again, going back to what I was saying before, if you want to get in shape quickly, the quickest way to do that is to prepare your meals, either yourself or someone else do it for you so you can accurately track the nutrition. But this did provide Kevin with a good amount of flexibility each week. And he was very much of the mindset, I'm going to work very hard for the week with my nutrition. I'm going to be dialed in, and I'm going to have a little bit more flexibility on the weekend. This does not mean that he went massively over his calories and he overate on the weekend. He opted for lean protein sources when he was eating out, steak, sea bass, salmon, these sorts of things. But again, it provided him with a little bit of flexibility so that he was then motivated to do it all again the next week. So nutrition is absolutely essential. You can follow a meal plan if you want to, that's personal preference, but underneath that and underpinning all that is the right calories and macros for you. And we had Kevin on a certain amount of protein that was dictated by his body weight. He had an essential amount of fats in his diet as well to keep hormones in a good spot and provide him with good solid energy throughout the week. And then the rest of his calories came from carbohydrates, which helped him drive that training performance when he was in the gym doing his strength work and helped him maintain the muscle. And the last area that I wanted to touch on is communication. And I think this would get missed by a lot of people when they think of achieving an amazing result. Obviously, training and nutrition is incredibly important, but I genuinely think we wouldn't have been able to achieve this amazing result without the high level and the frequency of the communication that we had throughout the coaching process. So everyone that works with us, they do a weekly check-in. That is where they fill in a form each week, they update all their data, and we will always send over video feedback to those clients within 24 hours, letting them know whether we've made any changes to the plan and the rationale behind it. But I kind of explain that as that's really the one formal touch point that we need from every client on the program. Without that, communication becomes distant and it's very hard to help someone get a really good result. But with Kevin, and I mean, all of our clients have access to us on WhatsApp every day of the week, but we were communicating pretty much daily on WhatsApp. I would say on average throughout the 8 weeks, we probably communicated 5 times a week. And that was literally just him updating me with hunger levels, how he felt day to day, how his training sessions were going. And I think it's that kind of high attention to detail and me just keeping him in a good spot mentally that really allowed us to achieve that great result. Because I think when you are, when you're losing weight, you're obviously weighing yourself regularly throughout the week. We recommend our clients weigh 4 to 7 times a week. Sometimes if the body weight moves around, they can get in their own heads. They can start questioning the approach that we put in place. Do we need to reduce the calories? Do I need to do more steps, more cardio? All these sorts of things. And I was just his kind of sounding board, and I was able to just review the data and keep him in a good spot there and just give him the confidence that what he was doing was working. And again, that's why we dropped that amount of weight. And the body weight did not go down every single day. It did actually drop every single week, which is awesome, but there were fluctuations day to day, which is totally normal. So communication is really important. Unless you are an incredibly self-motivated individual, unless you have a lot of training and coaching experience yourself, I don't think you're going to be able to get a result like that being self-coached. I don't think I could have done that myself, to be honest. Whenever I do fat loss phases or I prep for photo shoots and things like that, I will always hire a coach to hold me accountable, because not to go off on too much of a tangent, but we often make decisions, based off emotion when we are tracking our own data and coaching ourselves. Whereas if you've got someone else to just oversee everything and tell you what to do at the right times, then you will definitely get a better result in the long run. So training, nutrition, and communication, the key components of this amazing transformation and our coaching process in general. Obviously, we help our clients with a lot more. We go into sleep, we go into recovery, all these sorts of things, routine management, but these were the three main things that allowed Kevin to get such a great result. I obviously will have inserted a photo of the transformation as well. If you are interested in achieving similar results, or you simply want to just find out more about how our coaching process works, then fill in the application form below this video and I will be in touch to arrange a consultation call.